Hi, everyone, and welcome to Between Meetings, our first, hopefully, of many podcasts. We'll be using this platform to discuss a range of topics, some FM related, some absolutely not. So, as Foster Care Fortnight draws to a close, I'm joined by Andy to give us a really personal insight into the reality, the chaos, the rewarding parts, and the difficult bits of fostering. Andy, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. As you know, I'm a great advocate of fostering and bring it out there into the open world.
So, for people who are listening who don't know who you are, a very small number, I'm sure, tell us who you are and what kind of household we are walking into today.
So, Andy Windebank, I'm regional managing director for the Southeast. Been with Atlas since acquisition of Emprise, um, and the household that I live in is a very busy household. Myself and my partner have designated responsibility for 18 children. We have three living with us permanently, and the others visit us on a rotation for weekends.
18 children, that's incredible.
And looking so youthful.
It's just as well we got the camera as well as the
Yeah.
audio, right? So let's just go back a little bit. And how did fostering initially become part of your life?
Hey, so it's a really, really good story for me, and a very eye-opening part for me. The same as every couple, you get to a stage in a relationship where you think about being more than just you two, um, and I mean by children. And so what we started thinking about children, we went through the surrogacy route. What did we want to do? Adoption. We had a surrogacy lined up when going through all the whole legal wrangling of the minefield that is. And we went on a holiday with a very, very good friend of mine that I didn't know had come through the foster care system until we went on this holiday. Think it was alcohol fueled conversation that came about.
Mm.
And she shared with us the horrendous journey that she had through the foster system, but also shared us a glimmer that she had some fantastic foster carers. And then Jack, my partner, and I had that discussion is, we're talking about creating a life. There's so many lives out there that need help and support. Why don't we do that? And we immersed our world into finding out about fostering and never came out of it. So that's 8 years ago.
So it's 8 years, and how many children in total?
We've looked over after 50 plus, and that could be from, one night, 1 hour, school runs, all that type of thing. And then, a huge amount of children that lived with us for weekends and long term placements. The longest we've had is our daughter, who we've had now since she was 5 years old, and she's 13 in a few years' time.
That's incredible.
So a few weeks' time.
Few weeks time.
Few weeks' time.
Yeah, she's only
Yeah.
4. No.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, and can you remember the first time you got the call to say a child would be joining your family, or you would be
So
responsible?
there's so many firsts. There's the first where is a planned happening where you started off, and we chose to do um, weekend sleepovers as an introduction, so we could meet as many different types of children as we could do. That was a planned one, but the emergency placements are the ones that really tug your heart. And I do remember it. I was at a formal meeting that I had to leave because we had two little girls coming to stay with us on an emergency placement, which is a police protection order, which they come into care for the first 72 hours, and then it's assessed by social services whether they stay in or not. And it was a real emergency. God, what do we do? How do we do it? They don't come with a book. So you have all the training for fostering and all that sort of thing, and then they just turn up with a social worker, and there they are. And that was quite a heart-wrenching one. These two little girls turned up at a door in bloodstained clothing and all that type of thing, and that's where the journey starts. And that was our daughter that's with us still now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, a lot of these children come from quite challenging backgrounds, and it's got to be hard for you at times. What would you tell someone thinking about starting a fostering journey? Yeah.
Yeah, every child in care comes along with its own baggage. They're not in care for any other reason other than there's been issues at home. Our job is to try and reunification those with their their parents, their grandparents, or where they've come from. But if that's not possible, that's not our decision, that's a judge's decision. If you're thinking about it, that's the biggest step ever. I would promote it. It's full of joys. The thought of giving back to your local community. It isn't an easy ride though. I must say that it comes with all its warnings. And but if you're thinking about it, do it. Reach out, find out about it, talk to someone about it. Within my team, I've got people that foster. Within our head office support team, we've got people that foster. Talk to anyone that does it. And the fact that we are a fostering friendly employer really helps, because your line management and everyone else supports it on it. And it's been, Atlas, you know, has supported me so much. The main reason I went for fostering is Chris Wisely supported me from the very, very beginning. Do it, reach out, create your family.
That's really lovely. You you talk about the children who've been in your care with such love. And have there been moments where where there have been specific experiences or specific moments that you've seen that you go, actually, I've really made a difference there?
Every day, every day. For me, both Jack and I, we both have our own, like every couple, you have your own areas of responsibility. Mine is education, manners, and discipline. And everyone that knows me at work wouldn't think the discipline's my part, but it is. The thing about children that come from a disadvantaged background or a trauma-informed background is they need a routine, regular, disciplined approach. So, regular things, same time, all the time, going to school, meal times, regular behavior checks, all that type of thing. But every single day I can think of something, the first time a child uses their knife and fork properly, I can remember one of the biggest memories for me always is the child that comes along and you give them a toothbrush. That, when we think about, people that got their own children, that is a given. But a foster child coming into care being so excited about getting a toothbrush and being told to brush their teeth. And then the journey that you go to every dentist trip, that's the fillings, the filling where you go, that is changing a book, going up a reading level, eating with a knife and fork, using manners, the please and thank yous, just forming that little person. Every single thing you do every day changes a life. And it's creating memories along the way.
That really takes me back. I don't know if you know, but I used to work for a charity that moved children out of orphanages and back into families across
Yeah.
Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
Africa. And one of the big things there was around children having their own possessions for the first time, their own toothbrush, their own clothes, and celebrating birthdays.
Yes.
Just never happened in orphanages. And how those normal kind of routines of life that we kind of take for granted.
And you're absolutely right. It is the taken for granted thing. And it's, we try to do above and beyond for every child. And it is those little memories you make. And it's so funny. We have, like I say, we have lots of different children come to us every weekend. And we try to make it that fun part for them as well, because even though they're in a stable placement where they are, but they come to us as Mockingbird foster carers to give them a relief from where they're living with their foster parents, as well as giving their foster parents a break, because secondary trauma in fostering is something that you do because it's very, very tough, and you need to get a break from that. And so we get great pleasure from giving all those little joys.
Lots of the people who'll be listening won't necessarily be foster parents, but will be parents. And think of myself with my three. You spend a lot of time with a lot of young people. What are the type of conversations and challenges that you're hearing them talk about, the struggles that they might be having that might relate to other people who have got kids too?
They're so real. I mean, the biggest threat for us all out there is technology and the use of phones and the internet. And it's really, as parents, foster parents, anyone that's got any young person in their life, is to guard against that type of thing. That's the biggest challenge we have. Not only because they all want to be on their devices, and I think the biggest thing for me is that there is a place in their life for the young people's world is devices to use. You can learn from it, but used wisely. But also, it can be used against them. Some young children are given an iPad at the age of 1 to watch when they're eating. Not a good habit, to
Mm.
wean them off of that. So the good challenge of, well, the device turns itself off. It's not me turning it off. So the anger doesn't come to me. It's the device that's turned itself off. I use timed, all that type of thing. But there's so many different scenarios you could explain. It's, a trigger, a smell, anything can set a child off, but it's recognizing that.
And just on the tech piece, because I think that's the thing we can all kind of resonate with. Do you have any advice to parents, to foster parents, to carers who, particularly around those kind of teenage children, how do you kind of deal with that day to day?
Well, the parental apps are always very, very good. Again, the routine, the regular. Screen time monitoring, as in it goes off after a certain time, because then you have to have your homework done because that's still governed by that. And a big, big thing for us is no electronic devices, phones, or anything in bedrooms, washrooms, bathrooms, or anything. So that works for us, and they manage it. Whereas there's a station in the house where they charge all their devices. It goes there, um, and it works. Once you get into that routine, it really does work, and that's every visitor that comes to our house from the young children.
You just go, I'm going to be taking that back to my house.
Yeah. So yeah.
You um, you describe a really glowing, challenging, but
Mhm.
glowing kind of picture of fostering and your experience in it. Um, but I'm guessing it isn't all kind of glowing and enjoying. And I was wondering, have there ever been moments in this journey where you felt maybe misunderstood, or it's got to a point where you've thought, actually, I'm thinking about walking away from this?
We talked about secondary trauma. One of the biggest problems with fostering is your protection of yourself, because, that old avid thing, you can't look after anyone unless the same thing as if you're an aircraft, you've got to put your oxygen mask on first. So, self care is the biggest thing ever. You have to understand where you are. I'm not a shrinking violet.
Sure.
I advocate myself. I tell, always say where they are. And it works exactly the same as I do at work, as I do with the fostering team. If if an email comes from me to the social worker or whatever else like that, it means that's where it is. I'm not as polite as Jack can be in emails, and I'm more to the point. But you have to preserve. One of the biggest threats with fostering is you open your home to children, their issues, where they are. So you have to have away time from that. You have to downtime, relax, look after yourself. But also a big thing that nobody talks about enough in fostering is allegations. So, you open yourself up to allegations of he said, she said, they touched, they did that type of thing. So very different to parenting. You have to make notes about everything you do, everything you go, every bruise, every scrape, every visit, every contact with family. You fed them this, you fed them that, you provided them this, you provided them that. And it's all about self-preservation for that as well. So, Johnny comes home from school with a scrape on his knee, document it, photograph it. That's what's happened. So when you get into the swing of it, and that's where it's very different from parenting, you have to make sure you've got evidence to protect yourself about anything like that.
This links really nicely to something else that had been kind of running in my head throughout this, because I know how full on your role here is at Atlas and how much you throw yourself into it. And I see it because I'm a relatively early riser, but that green light in Teams is always on when I against your name when I turn on in the morning, and it's often still there when I'm finishing at night. So how do you balance your professional life with your life as a foster parent?
Um, Carefully. It is a very perfect balance. First of all, is I have great support from my team and my peers and everyone above me. They all accept that I've got a transitional young family, very supportive and adaptive to what we do. I get so much help, from Amanda listening to my whinging and moaning about school runs and all that type of thing. It's how you support it, but it's what needs must, and it's that fine just. The big thing, and again, I'm not trying to do a corporate spin on Atlas. You know, the business understands family comes first. Whether that's your own family or whatever else like that. All the support I get from that but it's prioritizing what is the need there and must. The flexibility of the day. Sometimes, for instance, you say difficulty. One of the children we've had living with us for over a year, he's not been at school full time for 6 months. So he was only going half an hour a day. He's now going an hour and a half. Yay! We have to celebrate small
Yes, that
steps. But the journey along that, the flexibility of my team. Oh, I can't do that team's call now. I've got to go to the school. Working in as a team with home, work, and school, everything all working together, and it's flexibility on that. But you know, I try to make sure it doesn't impact too much, but I know everyone's very supportive about it is. And of course, the way they work remotely and where we work, Teams calls, people understand if they're getting emails from me at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's because I need to clear my diary to do something. So yeah.
that stops me feeling lonely. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that you've been supported by some fantastic fostering organisations and that you also support some fantastic fostering organisations. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a moment just to talk about them. I think it's really interesting for us, Chloe.
For me, there's several groups. There is Fostering Network. They're absolutely brilliant from the learning point of view and what we do from there. Secondary is a charity that we've supported in the past, is Comfort Cases. And you alluded to it there. So Comfort Cases is a charity that we've worked together with Atlas and we've raised money. I found them through that they gave 600 Hertfordshire foster children Christmas presents. Absolutely brilliant. But what they specialise in is when children come into care, whether they're at the police station, from school or everything like that, you said it, it's having something their own. Really, really sadly, even this day and age, some foster children come into care with nothing or a bin bag for their presents. Can you imagine their stuff, their prized possessions in a bin bag? So your stuff's rubbish. They put together a package, a case, hence the word Comfort Cases, a book, toothbrush, toothpaste, all that type of thing that the social worker, the police station or the foster carer can give them, and that is theirs. Nothing better. And, I think they give away something like 10,000 cases a year. So absolutely brilliant cause for us to support. We've supported it. Our suppliers have supported it. And really good. And they're local to me in Hertfordshire as well, which is really good.
And I think it's really worth kind of just stopping on that point for a moment because, and I've seen this firsthand in other countries, this isn't just about giving kids material goods. It's about showing that they belong and that they have their own identity, right? It's much, much bigger than just a present or some
Absolutely.
toothpaste. Actually, it's about
Yeah.
saying, you're a part of this world too.
And
You're
you'll see yours.
Yeah.
Some of them, I could give you many examples of cases where children have actually literally fight to get some clean clothes or going to school in dirty clothes. So the fact that there you go, there's a case, they're your pajamas, they're your toothbrush, that's a book for you to read, there's a soft toy for you. Whereas some of them don't have that when they come into care. And the fact that they've got that when they first come into care, people don't understand, some people don't understand what it's like to come through that journey.
Andy, thank you so much for your time today. And I think that there's experience of someone growing up in care in my own family, and I know from their experiences and stories just how challenging it is, not just before they reach care, but often in the care environment itself. And so for me, it's a very personal thank you for what you do, because I'm not sure you'll ever realize how much of an impact you have on these young people's lives. It's always a pleasure talking to you, but it's a particular pleasure talking to you today. That feels like a good place for us to leave it before we both go into our next meetings. But yeah, thank you so much, buddy.
Great pleasure, and thank you for giving us the spotlight that fostering needs within our world.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Thanks.